since I'm in the mode of cleaning up my stuff, I figured I'd sort of show you a little backstory of how I kind of got where I got. So I think my gateway drug to YouTube might have been a backyard scientist who's probably insane but interesting. But of course, like most people, I seem to have gotten caught up by the king of random. So here's his backyard foundry. As you know, it's made with sand and plaster of Paris. Interesting thing for me is there's the top. This is my third top. This is my bucket. So when I made this bucket, I went out and I bought this stuff. Easy Sand 2.0 to be my sand, because I didn't have play yard sand. And of course, you guys already know this, but Easy Sand 2.0 is joint compound, not sand. So I'm building my foundry and I open up the Easy Sand and it's not sand. So I went ahead and I casted it anyway. I've fired this thing, I don't know, 15 times. And when I do it, I melt for a long time. And it's held up remarkably well. I've left it out in the rain. I've done all kinds of things to exactly not do what you're supposed to do with this thing. And frankly, it's worked pretty well. So I'm going to have to recast it here soon. One of the things I did proactively was, and I did this on the advice of the king of random, is I bought these things from Amazon. They're stainless steel scrub sponges, and I put them in the casting the first time I casted it. Also in the top, and it really does seem to prolong the life of the top, particularly because the top will usually break, but as long as the stuff is in it, it'll still hold together and you can keep melting. So I first bought this, but it's too big to go in that bucket and leave enough room around it for enough charcoal to get the thing hot. So that turned out not to work. So I had one of these, which was almost empty. I cut the bottom off of it, and that was my first crucible. I melted 4 or 5 times with that before it failed. At which point I moved on to this one. As you can see, it's getting pretty skanky, but it's still working. I've probably melted, well, I melted at least 3/4 of that in that little graphite crucible. This thing weighs, I don't know, about 30 pounds. What with the new tariffs, I think I'm probably going to make a killing on aluminum. What is this? Well, the first thing I melted was a shower enclosure. This is all extruded aluminum. I melted a shower enclosure. I melted an aluminum stiffener that came off of an old hot tub cover. I've melted some storm windows, but most of this is coming from backyard aluminum furniture that we've owned for about 10 or 12 years, and the webbing's all getting old and skanky. So I've been cutting it up with a Sawzall and melting it slowly. This is zinc. I threw what I thought were some brass coat hooks into the crucible, and it came out like this. So obviously it wasn't brass, it was zinc. Also melted one of these. Our house was built in 1956. It's got all these quick set doorknobs. So it looks like a solid piece, but actually it's iron plus zinc together. I won't melt this one because this is new old that I bought on eBay, but I've got some old skanky ones that I've been melting up. I've got some scrap brass left over from renovating the house, and I've melted that. So I've managed to get some nice brass out of it. That one's got kind of a nice color to it. Interesting thing about brass is that if you keep melting it for a while, the zinc starts boiling off, which gives you a really nice, pretty yellow smoke. So, which is highly toxic, apparently. This was my first attempt at aluminum bronze, and what I essentially did was I threw one of these things in the crucible, this little fitting here, which apparently is red bronze, which is about 85% copper. Got it really hot and it sat there, but it didn't do anything. So I remembered something I'd watched online, and I tossed a couple of these aluminum ingots in there, which melted immediately. And I think what the aluminum did was it essentially dissolved the copper into it, because aluminum bronze has a lower melting point than copper. So these things are a lot heavier than this. I threw 3 or 4 lengths of pipe about like that in there, and they each went down until eventually the thing stopped melting copper. I'd throw more copper in it, it wouldn't melt. I don't know if it's because I lost temperature control, or if eventually the mixture got to a point where the melting point would no longer, I could no longer get the melting point to high enough, or what. But anyway, it stopped adding copper, and it's too bad because it didn't turn that nice yellow color that aluminum bronze is supposed to turn. I think I might have figured out a way to figure out how much of this is copper and how much of this is aluminum, so maybe more on that later. Last thing I got is that I went on eBay and I bought some pewter, which is mostly tin, and it's not actually stamped how much of this is tin. You know, pewter is a combination of lead and tin, but I'm thinking I might be able to melt me some tin, because my ultimate goal is to melt copper so that I can make bronze, because I really want to make bronze. So we'll see. That's where I am. Air supply, just to let you know, most people use a hair dryer, right? So hair dryer, PVC, steel pipe. I didn't use a hair dryer. I used a ceiling fan from a bathroom. The reason I used a ceiling fan is more air, less noise. I'm not interested in the noise that comes with using a hair dryer. And one last thing. Crucible tongs. Grabby thing. That's where I make my ingots. And dudes, safety first. Not interested in getting burned alive. So that's how I kind of got where I am as far as melting goes. I've got a lot of scrap aluminum left over. It's funny, my attitude's changed a little bit. Every time I walk around and look at a piece of metal, I start wondering whether I can melt that or not. Just like I'm thinking about those pipes left over from yesterday. One last thing I thought I'd point out. There's where I melt. You can see it's a flippin' mess. I'm going to have to clean that up. My wife's not going to be happy come the summertime if I've got all that crap laying out here like that. This is old pool equipment here. Those 2 bars right there, the ones that aren't blue, yeah, they're going in the crucible. And then over there is the remnants of my aluminum deck furniture. There were 6 chairs. 3 of them are ingots now, so I've got my eye on those for sometime pretty soon. So that's all I got for today. Just thought I'd kind of give you a little bit of backstory. If you want to melt your own stuff, it's not hard. Remember, again, I got 10 fingers, 10 toes. I am not burned yet. I don't plan to be burned, and I don't want you to do anything that I do because, as again, is so commonly noted, I'm an idiot. This is the end of a melting session. One of my subscribers, 10% of my entire subscribers, asked me to show you some melting. And that's going to be a long video because I just spent a long time melting. But I figured I'd tag this one on at the end of my introduction to melting video and say, you know, like, subscribe, tell your friends. Thanks for watching. It's been a great time. Remember, I'm an idiot. I got through this one with a 0% body surface area burn in all my fingers and toes, and I plan on keeping it that way. So talk to you later.